Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of They Say. I am Allison McFarland, founder and CEO of Allison McFarland Inc., also known as AMI. And I am so excited, as always, to be in front of you today with just an amazing guest who I have had the pleasure of getting to know and I'm still getting to know from one of my dear friends who was like, Allison, you got to know Artie. He's doing amazing things. Artie is doing amazing things in the city. He's a great connector. He's well known. He's well versed in Houston. And she's like, you got to know him. So I'm excited to have him here. I'm glad you said yes to me, even though we've had to pivot on how we got to meet up. So thank you for your willingness and your ability to pivot with me.
Thank you, Allison. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm delighted to be part of this.
Yes. So RT and I both were, before we got on, we were just wanted to just acknowledge the devastation that happened in the Hill Country. And our hearts go out to the families and the loved ones of the people that have lost loved ones in this tragedy. It is truly a tragedy that if anyone has a heart, it should affect you. As a mother, and I know your father, it's sad when these type of devastations happen because it really puts things into perspective. What is your thoughts on this, Artie?
First and foremost, Allison, it's a news that it did not want to wake up to on a 4th of July weekend.
Right.
This, growing up in India, I came here in this country and now obviously has been here for 25 plus years.
Yeah.
These are sights and stories that I've heard when I was growing up in India, where
Mm,
entire villages and communities would get flashed away because people did not know,
yeah.
people were not communicated of the impending disasters.
Right.
This is not a story. We have seen this happen too many times. We saw North Carolina,
Yep.
not too so long ago. We have seen the heartbreak. I was personally involved in Hurricane Katrina response and recovery for
Oh,
almost 27 months.
wow.
2016, my house flooded.
Wow.
2018, my house flooded.
Wow.
So I am very much in tune about the personal loss that people go through, the emotions that people go
Yes.
through. So it's an absolute travesty, in my opinion, and a travesty that could have been avoided and should have been avoided. In the year 2025, we are in the United States of America,
Yeah.
the richest and the most resourceful country in the world, and this is not something that I would ever think of happening. So I would hold my thoughts right there. There's a lot to discuss if we really want to get into it.
Yes.
Having worked in this field for over 15 years in emergency management and disaster response, this is heartbreaking.
Oh, RT, yes, very much so. Extremely heartbreaking. So let's unpack this 15 years of emergency management experience because first of all, Hurricane Katrina, I was in Mississippi when Hurricane Katrina happened, and I am from San Diego, California. And I never knew of a hurricane until my parents sent me away to school. And I was like, oh my gosh. Well, luckily, Mississippi didn't get as badly
Hmm.
affected as Louisiana. But I had to go down to Louisiana and pick up my best friend from college. And that truly put things in perspective for me being from San Diego. Like we had earthquakes. I never experienced a hurricane and a hurricane at that level until I got out to the South.
Yeah, I think I can relate, Allison. This Autry grew up in India.
Wow.
So I came to till for 25 years, all we faced was monsoon rains. And then
Mm,
I mentioned we had seen flooding happen. We'll get tropical depression, but then I moved to school in Indiana and then moved to Louisiana in 2001. So I ended up in a company that did emergency management, disaster mitigation. So even though I was an engineer by training, my work was very closely related to the post 9/11 world of emergency management and disaster recovery. Um, so it was a small company. We were supporting FEMA in multiple areas
wow.
for various different threat scenarios and programs. And I remember getting a call from my CEO 3 days. So Katrina hit on the 29th of August. Um, I got deployed to the emergency operations center 3 days before that. And everybody thought, just another hurricane. It was going to be big. It was going to be bad. New Orleans was actually, always under threat.
Hmm.
So we thought it would be another hurricane. We're going to go this over just as we have done for all this umpteen times. Little did I expect, actually, that this was going to be such a disaster. And in fact, if you recall, the storm itself had passed.
Yep.
I think it turned out to be not a category 5, it was a category 3, if I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
and it actually missed New Orleans.
Yeah.
But we could not have predicted the barge actually breaking the levees. That
Yes.
was a scenario that was not planned for. And again, talk about infrastructure, right? We
Yeah.
always talk about roads, bridges. Nobody thinks about um, emergency management in that sense of infrastructure planning, designing, and constructing. So
Hmm.
that was a hard lesson learned. So I remember the first few days, it was just trying to figure out what we need to do. Baton Rouge, where I was, became suddenly starting adopting all the evacuees from New Orleans.
Yep.
Everybody was trying to figure out what was going on at that
Right.
point. So it turned out with urban search and rescue. We had people deployed. I have my staff member deployed. I got to a position where I was actually managing all these deployments. We were bringing people in and then sending them out,
Oh wow.
whether it's New Orleans, whether it's Austin, whether it's Houston. We were in Superdome here.
Hmm.
So I was managing all of these people, producing sit reps, pretty much I would say 80, 100-hour weeks
Wow.
for a long time. And,
Wow.
I was young and it was
Yeah.
running on adrenaline. But one thing I'll tell you though, there were a lot of politics at
Yeah.
that point in time. If you remember, well done, Brownie. Mike Brown was the FEMA director at that time.
Hmm. Hmm.
And FEMA honestly lost the game at that point. That was kind of the initial stages of when press started taking over the narrative,
Yep.
and CNN at that time took over the narrative,
Hmm.
and the shots of the pictures of the levee break.
Yeah.
FEMA never really caught up to it.
Right.
So that was the point in time where I figured out that how important it is for timely, accurate, and concise information
Ooh.
being sent back and forth, one single point of contact.
Yeah.
So I remember we were running missions of just watching different TV channels.
Hmm.
So we had people sitting in front of the TV and noticing and reporting back every 8 hours to FEMA headquarters what was being said on
Hmm.
the different TV channels. So that was a mission that I had never anticipated to ever take in, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I summarized this experience. I was there for the urban search and rescue, then the short-term recovery, and then the long-term recovery of New Orleans. And honestly, that shaped what I do and why I do what I do, which is all about community resilience. It's about bringing the and it was just it was heartwarming to see the amount of work people put in, the compassion people had in terms of getting that community back.
Yeah.
So my rest of my career has been actually shaped by that particular learning that I had taken from that. So an experience I will never forget.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be 21 years now. It's
Wow.
crazy how time flies.
That's
But I
crazy.
think I've taken that along in my career.
No, that's crazy to think that it's been 21 years. Like that's amazing.
Well, well, actually 20 years. And take it back, 2005. So it's going to be
Yeah.
20 years. Yeah, in this August.
That's still pretty amazing.
Yeah.
When I think about just like you said, the community resilience and how the community wraps their arms and kinds of rallies around. What do you think? How do you think we can best support as a community with all these different? Because I think as we're going forward in the world, we're seeing a lot more natural disasters, whether they want to admit it or not. We're seeing things that people almost said were unpredictable or nobody saw coming. We're hearing that a lot more now since Katrina. So how do we really wrap our arms around this and get the accurate information that's needed?
I think it boils back to a few things, right? One is we have all the tools and the technology and the science
Hmm.
that can predict, that can simulate, that can create all these jazzy graphs and graphics about, what could happen, what should happen. We have the, Monday night quarterbacks looking back and saying, oh, you should have been done this way or that way. But the fact of the matter remains, right? We work for consulting companies, we have your own company, whatever it is. If you are in infrastructure, if you are in emergency management, the end customer is the people
Yeah.
and the citizenry, right? People at harm's way.
Yeah.
If you cannot communicate what you are seeing or you are, predicting to
Hmm.
the people at risk in a manner that they understand
Right.
and in a manner they can actually accept and in a manner that they can trust, you have lost that game, right? So gaining back trust in government, it is absolutely critical to protect our communities. You know, unfortunately, one of the fallout of the politics these days or the social media has been everybody has an opinion, everybody's an expert,
Yeah.
and that has not served well our
No.
society at all.
Yeah.
And we need to figure out a way to build that trust back. And the way to do that is being upfront, is to communicate threat that people have
Yeah.
and what they're going to face in a manner that's supported by data and science. And this whole talk about climate change hasn't happened. I take it all back. You can have your say, you can have your own science backing, but the fact is things are changing.
Yes.
And the first thing to react is to accept the change. And now what are you going to do about it? You can debate whether it's man-made or not.
Hmm.
That's not the topic we're debating here. The fact is it is here.
Yeah.
What do we do about it? So more and more we have to figure out how do we change people's behavior. And I think a key role in that is to gain back trust. And we as a community need to figure out, we as responders, we as politicians, elected officials, and business owners have to be part of that. And the solution needs to be something that's going to further that relationship of trust and cooperation among people. So we have a lot of challenge ahead, but the good thing is we don't have to create it from scratch. There are models out there. We have seen hurricanes and nuclear power plants. There's hurricanes, not sirens. We have the hurricane, the tornado prone areas. They have sort of sirens. Now this costs money, but they're very effective
Yes.
because it doesn't follow a language.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what that noise means. When
Right.
the siren goes off, they know what it means. And if they don't know, let's train them. Let's do exercise. Let's do community preparedness. I used to work in a program run by FEMA and US Army called Chemical Stockpile Emergency Preparedness Program, which thankfully is over by now. Did a tremendous amount of good to all the communities that had that, went through that. And also the nuclear power plants, they send calendars, with the utility bills that talk
Mhm.
about which zone you are in, what kind of threats you might have, what are the different noises coming out of sirens, what do they mean, what do they need to act. It's a
Wow.
constant reminder. All it took was work out with the utility companies. Hey, every month we're going to send out this calendar, or we're going to send out this particular notice that's going to be there. Well, a lot of people get emails nowadays. Fine, put it as the first page of your utility bill, right? Send out emails, send out actual physical mail about it.
Yeah.
So solutions are there. We don't have to be fancy. These are basic needs, right?
Hmm.
People are more worried about their safety and security. So let's get down to that level and not use cell phones as the only mode of communication, because guess what? No power, no wireless, you don't get those warnings.
Well, yeah, we learned that during Beryl, and probably definitely during Katrina too, but definitely during Beryl, because I don't know how many of us are all hunkered down in the same place with no electricity for, gosh, God knows how long. Some people were without electricity, but you would think we would use, like you said, RT, which I can appreciate. You would think we would use some of the things that we've experienced prior as like a roadmap to help us forward, but it's almost like every time we have to relearn what we've already experienced.
I agree with you, and then that cycle needs to change. That
Yeah.
cycle needs to change.
It's costly. It's costly. If we look at the price of homeowners insurance and just insurance in general, and then people are losing their insurance. I have like I said, I'm from San Diego, so I had a lot of family members that haven't been, thank God their house hasn't burned, but because of the wildfires and because of the hurricanes, like I had to really like petition my homeowners insurance to keep me. And then I come to find out there's a lot of people that don't cover this particular part of Fort Bend anymore because of the flooding that has happened.
Yep, they're
It's
smart.
amazing.
They are using the latest technology. They're using the latest models. They are calculating the risk as it should be done,
Yeah.
and they're using it, right? But it's fine for a private company to do that, but as soon as it comes to the government, suddenly it's everybody's up in arms about privacy and all their commentary about oh, we don't have climate change, we have nothing. But guess what? They are looking at climate change. I know for a fact that
Oh
looking
yeah.
at that enhanced risk and making business decisions based on that.
Mm.
So we have to, and trust me, I live in Katy, and the first thing that happened with Beryl was I lost power and my cellular signal went to SOS.
Yep.
So, I say this more often, and I started beginning, right? Community infrastructure resilience, the sustainability of a community is as strong as the weakest link in the infrastructure.
Mm.
You can build roads, you can create, drainage, storage areas, detention basin, levees, pump stations, all of that. If you cannot communicate what's happening, right? If your cell phone goes away and you don't know where you are, what's happening in the rest of the world, what's flooding, what's not flooding, what's broken, what's not broken, you have lost that battle.
Yeah.
So we need to reframe infrastructure planning and preparedness and designing and constructing in the light of emergency management and disaster recovery, especially in coastal areas.
No, that's so true. I'm trying to remember. It was COVID, and I don't know if you did that, the emergency management, but you remember how everyone stocked up on toilet paper? And to this day, I think about this often. Like, why was that? But that was the one thing that was like gone wherever you went. But I was asking like myself and my daughter. I was like, well, why does everybody need all this toilet paper? And how is that going to save us if we can't go outside?
I don't know where it came from. Honestly, I was in Indiana at that time, and
Oh, you're in
honestly,
India, so you didn't have to worry about getting toilet
Indiana.
paper.
I was in Indiana at that time, and I used to live in Carmel, just north of Indianapolis.
Okay.
And I think it was a viral video from Australia or something like that
Yeah.
that was completely unrelated to COVID, and
Yeah.
suddenly that took off. Right there, you go, the magic of social media, right?
No, but you just talked about this and misinformation,
Yep.
because to this day, no one can explain to us why everyone was buying all the toilet paper and what that had to do with COVID. But look, like you said, it's a power of information. And if we take the information as Bible every time something is put on social media and no one is actually vetting to make sure this is true and accurate, but we're just going to run to the masses and spread this news, then we run into situations where there's no toilet paper.
Yeah, absolutely. And I live my life with control the controllable, right? So you cannot control that,
Right.
but the government can control the information they want to give out. Control as in
Yeah.
give the right information, the accurate, timely information, based on science and data, and
Mhm.
counter it to the extent possible, right? We're a free country. You're free to consume whatever information you want,
Right.
but how do we change that behavior when it comes to emergency, when it comes to your life?
Yes.
You got to have one entity that you can go ahead and trust. And unfortunately, that has worn away in the last decade or
No.
so.
Yes, because we don't fact check anymore.
No.
And I think even with media, it's not a requirement anymore. People just take what is said and run with it. And there's so much fake news. It's hard to decipher what's true and what's not.
Yeah, yeah. There was I don't know if you remember, there was a newspaper. I still see that posted called The Onion.
Okay.
That
Yes.
was a satirical newspaper and headlines. So it was to joke. And nowadays, I really can't figure out if it's a real headline or it's an Onion headline. Just
Archie, you're not the only one. I agree with you.
it's a pretty interesting world we live in these days.
It is. So how did you, let's backtrack, because we just hit
I know.
the gas, because we're both pretty passionate about that emergency management, which is important. But how did you get started in this, and like what sparked your passion? Because I don't know many people going to school for this. So kind of what got you there?
I did not go to school, so as I mentioned, right? So I came to Purdue to do my master's in transportation
Oh wow.
infrastructure engineering. So
Oh, wow.
I came here just like any immigrant from India, an engineer, civil engineer, doing my
Yeah.
undergraduate in India, and I came here, and actually my first job was doing very engineering stuff.
Oh wow.
Doing at that time intelligent transportation system and all of that. But I had applied to this job in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana,
Okay.
company. I did not, and it was actually doing transportation modeling work. So
Oh
we
wow.
were trying to move people around doing simulation work.
Okay.
So 3 months into this job up in Delaware, actually, I got this call like, hey, well, we have offered you the job. Do you want to move to Baton Rouge, Louisiana? And I did not know where Louisiana was. I had no clue because nobody from Purdue graduates and goes to Louisiana. They don't go south of probably Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But it was a cool job. I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And the whole idea was to get there 6 months. That was the headquarters. And then I'll move to DC because that's where all the FEMA work. All I need was that he did a lot of work for FEMA. And I just joined in as a transportation guy who was going to run some models
Okay.
for different hazards, right? It was hurricane. Remember, I graduated in 2001, August.
Okay.
So I was collecting traffic data in Pennsylvania on 9/11.
Wow.
My morning peak happened, and I went to a coffee shop literally at 8:45, and I saw somebody told me a plane has hit the World Trade Center, and people were joking about all of that. But long story short, so that was what I was doing. But then when I came to this company, they did a lot of hurricane preparedness work,
Mhm.
right? Hurricane planning, and they had this amazing program that FEMA and U.S. Army put together to dispose of the Cold War era weapons of mass destruction that were kind of in U.S. in 10 different sites. So my job was to figure out how do you move people from harm's way using media and transportation models, whether if something happens in your community or if it's a hurricane, when do you put people in shelters, like keep them
Wow.
versus move them? And
Hmm.
if you move them, what routes do they take? What turns they make? Where do they go? Where's their unification? How long did it take to move the last vehicle out? So that was kind of how I got into it. Did a lot of work with the nuclear power plants as well. Like they had to have in order to maintain their operating license, they had to make sure that the population within a 10-mile radius of the nuclear power plant could
Wow.
evacuate without any impedance.
Hmm.
And they had to calculate some time. So that's what I'm going back. Like those are the things that have been done. You evacuate people. They not only thought about evacuating people, they thought about where they should go.
Mm.
Which shelter should they go? Like if
Right.
they leave a county, there was a designated school or a couple of schools that they would go. Everybody from this particular slice of the pie goes there. The other pie goes there, radially out from disasters, right?
Hmm.
And FEMA similarly, right? And then, I tasted a couple of hurricanes. I'm like, oh, I don't know where Louisiana. I didn't know what hurricanes were, but then we had the hurricane party the night before, and then when the
Not a
hurricane,
hurricane
right?
party.
And then Katrina hit, and honestly, Katrina actually changed my entire career path
Wow.
because that was I would say, an absolute watershed moment in my professional career. Just looking back about the amount of time and I spent, and just the learnings I had, and a full appreciation of how federal, state, and local government comes together in a
Hmm.
disaster scenario, right?
Hmm.
And thereafter, there was multiple. I was at the Emergency Operations Center for Hurricane Gustav. I was there for Francis. I was at FEMA Region 4 um, Emergency Operations Center, kind of looking at FEMA's response process and documenting it. Life kind of evolved, honestly, my professional career, and it was just a fascinating 10 years, 12 years
Wow.
that I did that work before kind of moving more into a traditional engineering space. Um, yeah, but I'm very grateful for the opportunities I've had on that side. So
Well, it really sounded like it laid the foundation for you to kind of step into this entrepreneur space, right?
looking back, I think all of those moments in life kind of prepare you for the next step. I don't think I had a game plan.
Okay.
Honestly, Allison, if somebody told me when I left India that 25 years later I'll be the CEO of a company that I founded, I'll say, get the heck out of here, stop messing with me. But I think it takes steps. I think, as I mentioned, the first 10 years that emergency management taught me, how federal, state, and local kind of communities get together to bring up the community, but it also helped me understand, how what the different colors of monies came, who
Mm.
funds which program of federal funding funds which particular projects, right?
Mm.
And from there, my next job was more helping communities get those money. So I worked for a national firm for about 3 years that I was doing hazard mitigation plans, kind of helping rural communities figure out what kind of projects they should be planning for as part of mitigation measures to get FEMA funding for it. And then my next step was to go to another company, another national firm, that would say, hey, we can spend the money now that you know which money is coming and funding what kind of
Mhm.
projects. So I guess to some extent, right time, right place.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
and then thereafter the career pivoted, and every few years I feel that I'm dumb, so I need to reskill and retool myself.
Yeah.
So in 2018, actually 2019, I decided to go to business school. I was in Indiana at that time, so I said, you know what, I'll try University of Chicago. So I was very lucky that I got admission to do my MBA at University of Chicago.
Oh, wow.
That was another pivot where I was always good at on the client side and bringing top line growth for different companies.
Hmm.
But I think Chicago gave me a completely different picture in terms of how you actually run a business, how you make money,
Mm.
top line all the way to bottom line. So
Okay.
did that, and then you know, lo and behold, I thought I had left the South, and but then man proposes, God disposes. So another global company hired me and brought me back to Texas
Oh, wow.
to run Texas. So that's what I did, and then last year February, I said, it's a now or never moment. I should at least try to do what I do for large companies, but on
Okay.
myself.
Yeah.
Took a calculated risk. It's been almost a year today, 18 months now. What is
Oh,
it, 16
wow.
months? So
Okay.
it's been fun. It's been fun,
Hmm.
but time will tell. Time
Oh,
will tell.
wow. That's awesome. So, coming out of that corporate space to that entrepreneur space, and that's truly betting on yourself. Um, how did you said you took a calculated risk, but how did you think that through, or you just did it?
Um, that's a question I should ask my wife, but no. uh, there in life, there's few things I believe. There's a thin line between stupidity and bravery, right?
Okay.
Jumping off the cliff could be think that's stupid, or it could be really brave. So depending on the day, I feel that maybe I've been stupid or thing.
Okay.
But
That's fair.
when I say it's a calculated risk, but
Okay.
I did not, I would say, analyze, paralysis through analysis, right? I didn't want to go through that
Yes.
because you can always find an excuse not to do it,
Yes, you can.
right? So, and again, I'm at a point in my career that I looked at it and said, I've done pretty well. I've given a lot, uh, achieved a lot. I have 10 more years to
Hmm.
get to. That's kind of my runway.
Okay.
So, what's the most impactful way I can give back to the community,
Mm.
like while making a living?
Mm.
And working for one of the largest global corporation, it's a big ship. It's very hard to move in the direction that you want it to be, no matter how much strategy you put in place, what kind of resources you have. At the end of the day, you are beholden to somebody above you from a corporate
Yes.
level, and so it was a publicly traded company, so I had to take care of share prices and all of that,
Yep.
quarterly returns and monthly
Yep.
revenue targets and things like that. So I thought, let me take my future in my own hands and see how that journey looks like.
Yeah.
And at least, it's a decision that I made. I did, and I've given myself 2 years. We're 16 months in,
Okay.
and then see where life takes me. And I have, when they say fail, fail fast.
Yeah.
I'm always in that mode. So I have no egos. If this doesn't work out, I think it will work out.
I think so
Um,
too.
but if it doesn't, I will come to you, Allison, and say, "Hey, I need a job." You know,
RT, I'll tell you,
then
we're gonna go help you help these communities um, get better prepared, because the resilience and the resilience and the need is there. So I don't see it not working out, to be honest with you. I think you picked the right time to really go forward, to be honest.
I appreciate it. Yeah, there's no, when I say that this is a no-fail mission, there are certain
Yeah.
missions in life that's a no-fail mission. And I've worked in my career a lot with a lot of army and military professionals. And actually, I just hired a 45-year-old ex-army Coast Guard commander
Oh,
to
wow.
to lead my emergency management. So I have seen the passion they have. I've seen
Yes.
them believe in mission, and that's kind of what drives me too. I think this for me is a no-fail mission. So I feel,
That's
yeah.
powerful.
So
That's
I
powerful.
think we'll make it work.
Oh yeah, it's gonna work. It's gonna work. I believe it. And the more we see our leaders tell us that they're not paying attention or predicting, I think there is a need, because we need that unbiased, non-compromised voice to kind of help those who want to see the light see it.
I hear you, and people need to realize that you cannot focus on response and recovery
Right.
and make yourself out of disasters. It's not economically possible. It's not socially feasible. You have to focus on preparedness and you have to focus on mitigation, right?
Yep.
If you mitigate the risk, every dollar you put in, you save $7 in
Mm,
disaster recovery. So it's a no-brainer for me in terms of where the need needs to be focused.
yeah.
And I think all our it's not sexy, right? That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
You're training for a disaster where you are taking people in a room and teaching them how to respond and
Hmm.
how to develop emergency operations plan. Doesn't The people don't see them. There's no groundbreaking. There's no ribbon cutting going on. It is done behind the scenes, right? But whereas recovery is very prominent, you can go in front of the camera and tell, we just
Tell the story.
recovered
Yep.
all this response. So there's that angle of politics,
Hmm.
but you have to believe in this, non-sexy items, which saves lives.
Right.
And we have to focus our attention on investing in our community to prepare for and mitigate from disasters rather than responding and recovering from it.
Right. Because it's like we get through one and then here comes another one, not too far after. Because I think what we're about a year out from Barrow, give or take. I think it's about.
Yeah, it's just about, I think it was like for seventh or something.
Yeah, so we're just
And
about.
before that was Duratio.
Yep. And the crazy part is I had never, like, I experienced I forgot the Harvey, where I was living in the energy corridor and it was like an island. I couldn't get out of my apartment. So I was like, okay, I'm going to move out to the suburbs, moved out to the suburbs, experienced Barrow, and I had to get a new roof. And I was like, wow, this is interesting.
Yeah. I wasn't here for Harvey, but I can imagine the pain and suffering that went through.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Being from California, man, I've learned a lot. I thought an earthquake was bad. An earthquake has nothing on on the water.
Yeah, just threats are different, risks are different, sufferings are the same. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
people go
No,
through the
that's
same thing.
true.
Look at what's happening with the, wildfires in California, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. People have lost everything that they, worked for all
Yeah.
their lives, and what do they do now? Like, so it's the theme is the same. It's about people and the community and how you prepare for and respond.
So, RT, as we wrap up, they say, and just thank you for this dynamic conversation. Timing is everything. And I feel like this was like beyond perfect timing. I'm glad we went ahead and had this conversation. But when you think about your career, your trajectory, the path that you're on, and just us being disaster prepared and ready, what does your work look like for the next, let's say, 6 months to a year? What does that look like to help us get to where we need to be as a community?
I think it's longer than that, right? There's some immediate needs, absolutely. I think the message that I'm trying to convey is, again, what I said. Infrastructure needs to be looked at through the lens of emergency management and disaster preparedness. I know it's an afterthought. We are very focused on building the road, building the highway, putting another park.
Yeah.
But when you are thinking of the park, think of the community center. See
Mm.
if you can use this community center as a shelter, as a
Mm.
warming center, because our climate is getting hotter,
Yeah.
right? So think about those innovative ways of doing it. When you are developing a large corridor or designing or planning a large corridor, can you use that as an evacuation route,
Mm.
right? Is there a way to figure out how you can get communities to that road? Once they were on the highway, you have faced Rita. I don't know. No, you were not here for Rita, probably. We have seen pictures of Hurricane Rita right after
Yeah.
Katrina, where it took 5 hours for people to get out of Galveston. It's people. People behavior is not going to change.
Right.
But as we are building roads, as we are building traffic signals, do we put in a phase where we can put a green corridor in an evacuation scenario, right? So start thinking about different ways of slowly incorporating this behavior into our engineering mindset, right? So a lot of my work would be focused on that, is where do we bleed in this engineering mindset and the emergency management philosophies together, and
Mm,
see if we can create a force multiplying effect in
yeah,
terms of designing really infrastructure for the future. And if we do it now and invest it now, we don't have to go through every time there's a storm or every time people have to evacuate, stick to the same roads, stick to the same rules. We have the opportunity to rewrite some of those and help the communities be more resilient.
man. That was powerful. That was a mic drop and just powerful. Well, I just
Thank
want to
you.
thank you for your time, your influence. How do we follow up with you? How do we, what are your ideal clients? How do we keep in touch with you?
My ideal clients, I'm very focused on the city of Houston
Okay.
region and the Harris County region.
Okay.
I'm opportunistic about other communities. Anywhere I can lend my support would be great. I always say my cell phone is probably in everybody's um, fast dial, pretty much all over the country.
Right.
And you can reach me 24/7 on that, and I can share it if there's any need for it, for sure.
Awesome. 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 And you have a website?
I do. It's my company's full name is Resilient Infrastructure Solutions,
Mm,
and that's where we are merging in emergency management. We are merging in traditional site civil water resources engineering and technology together to deliver community resiliency for the generations to come. And the website is resilierinfrastructure.com.
easy enough. Well, I just want to thank you again for your time, your intellect, your knowledge, your passion. I'm grateful that you took that
Thank you.
leap of faith and bet on yourself. I feel like it's only going to help those, get inspired by your story, and not just inspired, but understand how you can helping community can look different for all of us. But ultimately, the main goal is to make each other better. And I can appreciate that. And I enjoyed this time with you. And thank you so much for coming on They Say.
Thank you, Allison. It's been an absolute pleasure. Glad we connected.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
have a have a great evening.
You too. And that concludes this episode of They Say. Thank you guys for staying and watching. And we just look forward to another dynamic